Hi everyone, this is Asim. Let me know if I'm audible or not. I can post in the comment section. Hi. A lot of people are here. Thank you. Naidu, Hacking Purpose, Bhagesh, Sky Programmer, Arpit, Kark, Swaraj, Ishan, Gokul, Satwik, Saikiran. Yeah, okay, thanks. Hi everyone. So Ron is my friend here. He's from my college. So yeah. So what do you say? So the thing or the overview for today would be, so first I would be talking about the API, common API bugs. So I would be explaining about that. I won't be taking any questions in between, because if anyone wants to like view this video just for the API content, so they could see the first part. And after I complete that, I would take questions so that like it's properly segregated, so that if someone wants just to see the common API bugs part, they could do that. So please hold your questions till then. And like if anyone comes later on, please tell them also. I would see the chats later on, and I would check what's happening. But let me post a comment. I won't be seeing the chat section, so have some patience there. I don't know if I can pin this or not. Can I pin this? Okay. Cool. Okay, let's start with this. I need to share the screen first. API common bugs. So I recently installed this one tab on my Brave also. Otherwise, I used to do it only on my Firefox window. Let's see how this pans out. I think everything's ready. Yeah, let me share the screen. I haven't added it yet. Okay, let's start this. Share screen, application window. I'm fine. Thank you for asking. Yep. Hope my screen is visible now. API application programming interface, the slides. Yep. I don't want to present the slides because in presenting mode, switching to different tabs is a bit difficulty. So I'd put it this way. Okay, so first thing, API. So a lot of people have been asking me about this to make a video on common API bugs. So it's simple, like the bugs are the same as it would be in anywhere else. But in API, you have some basic things or checks not properly put. So I'll be talking about that. So first thing, what's an API? So it's application programming interface. So this is the overview of the video that's going to be. So first is what's an API. Then I would be showing some of the examples of API, the types of API. So I'd also be showing like real APIs like these. So there's this REST API, then there's this GraphQL API, how this works. There's this JSON API. So I'll be showing these and talking about that so that you get a better context. So not just theory, we'll be doing some practice like on this as well. So after examples of API, we'll be talking about the types of API. Then the OWASP top 10 API bugs. So we'll be talking about these two only because covering all the top 10 would take like a few more videos. So I'll be talking about those in the later half. So not the second stream, but rather I would make a video on those. And yeah, so in later half, like in the second video that I'm gonna release on the same thing, there I'll be talking about auto-rise and auto-repeater. So I've been using auto-rise myself. I haven't used auto-repeater. I've seen Stokes' video; it was like quite good. The person was showing it it was quite useful. So I've been using Autorize quite since some time. So I'd be showing a live how you could do that, maybe on GitHub or Uber, any website that I would take. I would show how you would use that. Excessive data exposure, lack of resources, and rate limiting. So these three things, these would be covered in later videos. Then we would be doing a practice on one of the IDORs on port Swigger. That's an easy one, but we would be doing that. And then we would see some of the reports. So that's it. Let's start this. So first thing, what's an API? Because obviously to exploit something, you should know what that is. So APIs are application programming interface. So everything that helps you interact with the backend is an API. So these are basically code, and they allow, as you could see in the diagram, they allow the web app or the mobile application or any third-party applications to interact with the service. For example, let's say you have a car, and so this example I saw somewhere else, so I'm just putting it here. So let's say you have a car, use the accelerator to speed up the car and brake, halt it. So you don't need to understand how the gears are working, the fuel is getting lower so that to decrease the speed, or how brakes are applied on to increase the speed, or how pressing the accelerator pedal increases the fuel in so that the speed increases. So you don't need to know all this. You just know that you press the pedal and the speed would, you press the other pedal and speed would decrease. So that's kind of an abstraction. So basically these pedals are the APIs for the car engine. So same thing goes for APIs in applications, or maybe in web applications or mobile applications. Take an example for, if you do, so all those go through API. So through the API, Facebook does all these things. So that helps interact with the backend. So there's this common trend that the API that's being used internally, in some cases, is also the same API that's public to the developers, so that they can make applications onto that. So if you see any games on Facebook, or if you see any bots on GitHub or Shodan bots, so these are all basically interacting over API. Or if you would have used Shodan CLI, so it's basically a wrapper over the API. So if I show you, there's this GitHub API. So GitHub REST API. So GitHub has a REST API. So the docs. So it's very important that they have a doc, because the developer, the person who's trying to make some thing on those, they don't know what the particular endpoint is. So that's why they have the docs. So here's the reference. So these are the things that you could do. So suppose if you wanted to have, let's say, if you want to get all the emojis on GitHub. So you would be hitting on this endpoint /emojis, and this, if you do a curl request, let's say I do this. So for this, I think I would have to share the whole screen. Let me share the whole screen to show this. Is the stream quality bad? I'm not sure. Okay, it might be a bit laggy, but we would definitely get that. So let me run this. So if I run this, so I would get all the emojis that's on GitHub. So let's say there's this yellow square emoji. So if I copy it and I just go and check it, so I would see the yellow square emoji there. So it's basically this API endpoint /emojis is to get all the emojis on the GitHub that could be used there. So we have just interacted with a REST API of GitHub to fetch that. So that's the API. There's nothing very special about it. It's just API endpoint, URL endpoints. That's there. So let's talk about some examples. So GitHub API I already talked about. Then there's this Twitter API. So I think Twitter API. There's this Google's API, Facebook's API. So these Google has a lot of APIs for a lot of things. Like there's an API for YouTube. There's an API for Google Docs. There's an API for Google Analytics. So there are hundreds of APIs for Google, and it's very detailed. Then there's Facebook's API. So Facebook has made a GraphQL internally. So I'll be talking about what a GraphQL is, and I would also be showing how GraphQL works. So Facebook has this made, Facebook GraphQL API. So it uses a lot of these internally, and a lot of these APIs are also public for developers to make apps on that. So if you see any app on Facebook, it's basically a GraphQL API that's working there. Here's a diagram from a website. So what happens, these are the applications, they interact with the API. The API has the business logic, or it interacts with the business logic component, and there it fetches the data from the database. So yeah, that's what an API does. Types of API. So there's this REST API, which is quite popular. Like by far, almost every website has this REST API. Then there's this GraphQL API. So it was developed and open source by Facebook. And GraphQL is basically an improvement over REST. So I would show what are the limitations of REST, and you might have guessed. If not, I would talk about that. And it's an improvement over REST, and how it saves bandwidth and a lot of other things. So I'll be talking about that as well. Then there's this SOAP API. So SOAP API is quite old standard, and I don't find it in a lot of places being used. If you find it somewhere used, it could be there could be high chance that it might have some vulnerabilities, because SOAP is quite an old thing to work with. So let's see the REST API. So REST stands for Representational State Transfer. So don't get intimidated by the name. It's a very basic thing. So it has some HTTP verbs / methods. The data format is usually HTML, JSON, or XML. Example, the GitHub API. So let's talk what do you mean by HTTP verbs or methods. So if you see here on the diagram here, so there's this get request, the post request, put, delete. So get in general in English, what does stand for? Get is to get something. Post is to like post something, post some data. Put is also like putting something somewhere. Delete is to like delete the data, right? So rest, these methods, these verbs, if it's strictly following the standard, so this should follow the convention. So if it's a get request, it should get some data. If it's a post request, it should create some data by posting it somewhere. If it's a put request, or there's a patch request also, but that's very infrequently used. I've not seen it in a lot of places. So if there's a put request, so it means that the resource that's where it's being sent, so that's being updated. If there's a delete request, so delete means the object needs to be deleted. So you could have done it by post itself, like post request send kar diya, and you deleted some, maybe say user address. So let's say there's an application like say Zomato, Swiggy, or Grofers. So you have this application and there's this orders, or in your Amazon you have a lot of orders there, addresses there, and you want to delete an address. So you could do it with a delete request, and you could do it with a post request as well, right? But if the API is strictly following the REST standards, it would send a delete and not post. So that's that's an easy to understand thing. So let me show you this. So this is a Swagger example API. So swagger.json, probably a lot of people would have found these on websites. So this Swagger, what it does is it gives a standard of the data or the endpoints that's there. Like if I show you, so there's this post request to, so this is a pet stores Swagger JSON, or this is a pet stores API endpoint. So here are all the details of different things that you could do. So this is a REST standard API. So if you see delete a user, this is a delete a user, there's this put request. If you want to get a user, there's this get request. And then there's this API response as to what's the response of that. So let me show one of these requests. Find sped by status, try it out. Let's say I want to try this out. Execute. Okay, so if I choose this available status and I execute this, so this is the curl request that's gonna go. So there's this get request to this v2. V2 is the version 2 of this API. So that's a usual convention: v1, v2, v3, v4. Pet find by status equal to available. Response, so -h is for adding some headers. So if you do it through Burp, these headers are automatically added. But using curl, you have to add these headers. So -h, you can add as many headers as you want. So application JSON request URL is this, and this is the response body. So you get a JSON body for this. So you could see that. So this is a get request, or this is a using the REST API. So the REST API endpoint was this find by status, and anything after question mark. So those are basically parameters. So the URL is this find by status, or the endpoint is this find by status, whereas the question mark status equal to available. So that's the parameters. So there could be different parameters, like status is available, then there could be status sold or status pending. So these are usually filters. So in the backend, there would be code that would be running find by status. So this find by status would be mapped to a code in the backend, and these filters, that status equal to available, or status equal to pending, or status equal to sold, would also be by the backend. So some of the people, that what they do is they try to find these hidden parameters. So there could be some hidden parameters, is like, let's say secret equal to true, or hidden parameters equal to true, something like that. So there are few plugins that help you find these secret parameters, which might not be documented in the API, or which might be that they might have been, let's say, shelved out, or they might have been deprecated, but the API is still working. So since we're using this v2 version, so it could be in, like, this is a thing that you should look for. So if there's a v2 version, try to look for v1 version, or v2, or v3 version, v4 version. So different version, try to look for that. Using intruder, you could just run on this, changing these number and check for that. So using, it could be that on a previous version of this API, there could be some endpoints that are available, whereas on this particular version, it's not available. Same goes for a newer version, that there could be some new endpoints that are still under production, like it's in a beta maybe, and has not been released to public. but you can find those hidden there. So that's a thing that you should look for. So let's come back to this. So this is the REST API. So in REST API, you have the HTTP verbs and methods. You should strictly follow that as per convention. The data format could be XML, HTML, or JSON. So we saw here on the Swagger UI that it was the JSON API. In most of the cases, JSON is being used. I already talked about this in the previous video where we talked about XXC. So JSON saves a lot of data as compared to XML. So that's why a lot of these APIs, they use JSON. Now let's talk about GraphQL. So GraphQL is quite a hot topic, and it was developed and open source by Facebook. So if you haven't yet understood what are the limitations of these, I would show you with an example. So first I would show how GraphQL works. And then I would like take a pause and you think what's the limitation, why GraphQL has been made and why it's a bit better than the REST API. So it's a data query and manipulation language. It's developed as an improvement over the limited capabilities and wastage of bandwidth and REST. So I already told it. Data format is JSON, Facebook API. So let's see here. So there's this GraphQL. Oh, let me hide this. So there's this GraphQL playground. So this is the URL. You could go to this as well. So if I show, let me clear this. So there's this countries thing, and I want to get the name and capital and currency of all the countries that's in the database. So this is the actual countries GraphQL API. So it's a web version of that. So let's run this query, and I should see all the countries with the name, capital, and currency. So name is Andorra, capital this, currency is euro. So similar to this. So here is the root type. So root type is query. So if you're not getting it, just wait for a minute. I would be explaining what all these. So there's this query, and this contains continents, continent, countries, country, languages, language. And here you can see the filter. So let's say if I do this country thing here, and I want to get just a single country. So code is IN. Let's say I want to do this. And name, capital, and country. Suppose I want, let's see what are the fields inside this country. So, okay, type country. So there's this name, native, phone, continent, capital, currency. So these three things are there. That's fine. Let's check for this. So I get only the particular country, right? So as an example, now if you talk about the limitation, so let's say I wanted to get the emoji, but I just wanted to get that yellow emoji, right? So using a REST API, we couldn't do that. We would be running this query, and as we saw in the terminal, we got all these like maybe 1,000, whatever number of these emojis were there, and then I had to pick this yellow square one. Whereas if I would have used GraphQL, I would just have set that particular emoji to get, so that the bandwidth have been saved a lot and the requests have been faster. So that's what GraphQL provides an advantage over. So you just define, so it's basically client-side driven API. So you define that, okay, I want to get this and this and this, and it will give you only those things. Whereas in REST API, you would have to figure out how the backend API is, and on the basis of that, you would have to fetch the data. So if I wanted to, let's say, if I wanted to get the country and only India and then the name and capital, so I might be, if it was an REST API, so I might be getting all the countries like I got in the earlier case. And then if I got the country India, then I would do a country/India, and then I might get all the data related to India. So you see that that's a limitation because it consumes a lot of data and there are a lot of requests that needs to be done. So that's the difference between GraphQL and REST API. So GraphQL is basically a query language over your API. So whatever API you make, you just add a GraphQL server over to it. And once the request comes to the GraphQL server, it would do whatever queries that it has to do into the backend, and it would fetch you the exact data that you need, and nothing more, nothing less. So there are a few bugs here as well, which is very common. So there's this using introspection, finding hidden fields, and then getting data that's not actually, maybe that's not limited to your, maybe you're getting data from somewhere else. So we will be talking about that in some later video. This is not specific to GraphQL, so I'm not talking about the vulnerabilities or the bugs that you find in GraphQL. But just if you want to check it, there's this guy Philip Harwood, and he found a lot of bugs in Facebook's GraphQL API. So they were like either of the parameter was missing or there was some other parameter. So using these, he found a lot of bugs on that. So if I can find Philip Harwood Facebook, so I think we would see his. There was his GraphQL bug. I think there should be some blog post link here. philipharwood.com. Yeah, I think this is that. So he found a lot of bugs on Facebook, and I think he might found a lot of bugs on this. So if you go to his base website, so there's a lot of only on Facebook we find. So you could see all the bugs are on Facebook, and there are 20 pages. So there's a lot of these. So I would add links in the description as well, so you could check from there. So let's talk about SOAP API. There's not a lot to talk about it, but still, for the completion sake, I will be talking about this. So SOAP API is basically, it's a heavy API. It uses XML. So we have seen in earlier video as well that XML is a heavy data interchange format. It also uses HTTP verbs and methods. So there's this definition on the right side, simple object access protocol. It's a protocol for exchange of structured information on a decentralized and distributed platform using XML. So I've not seen this used in a lot of places. So let's move on with this. So the difference between SOAP versus REST. So I found this this graphical representation quite apt. So I put it here. So SOAP is like using an envelope. So on envelope, you write a letter, you put it inside that, you write, like you paste it, and then you write the address and all that. Whereas REST is like a postcard. You just write the address on the top and message in the back. You don't have to wrap it. You don't have to unseal it while opening the letter. You just flip that and get the data. So REST has a lot less overhead compared to SOAP. Then there's this comparison between SOAP, REST, and GraphQL. So SOAP was, as I told, it was quite early in 1990s. REST was in 2000s and GraphQL was in 2015. XML format, SOAP uses XML, GraphQL uses JSON, REST uses both. There are some disadvantages as well. You could take the screenshot for this and look it over. Let's not bore you with the details. This is a very important thing. Just because a service has an API doesn't mean it's vulnerable. It just means that you have a feature as to interact with it programmatically. So that, let's suppose if you have an API for Facebook where you could like maybe post or share a post, right? So if it didn't have an API, so what you would have to do is you would have to log into the Facebook page, and then you would have to share it manually, like what I used to do right now. I haven't interacted with the API, so I post my whatever video links, I post it manually. I go to that and then do that. So I went, since it's not a bit of a hurdle, so it's fine for me. But it could be that some person wants to make an API for resharing or something like anything doing with the Facebook API. So if there wasn't an API, they won't be able to do that, and they have to put in a lot of hacks, maybe bypassing their CAPTCHA or something like that if there's a CAPTCHA there. Whereas getting an API basically means that an application can programmatically interact with the backend service. So it helps developers make quite awesome tools there. So yeah, that's why companies provide API for that. Now let's talk about broken object level authorization. So I told that we'll be talking about these two OWASP top API bugs. So this is the first one, broken object level authorization. And then there's broken user authentication. So let's talk about the first one. So there's this broken object level authorization. So I don't get confused by the name. It's simply IDOR. And a lot of people would have know what IDOR is. For people who don't know, IDOR is basically insecure direct object reference. So as you could see in the diagram as well. So let's say you get your account ID is 1 and you try to get the account's details from some financial information and you get that. So if you change the ID from 1 to 2 and if you're still able to get the financial information, so ID 2 could be some other person, right? So if you're still able to do that, so basically that's IDOR bug. So user A shouldn't be able to access user B's data. Now you might ask me a question that, okay, on Facebook, I'm able to see other people's profiles. So is it an IDOR? So actually that's not an IDOR. You could that it's the basic functionality of Facebook that they allow you to see other people's profile. But let's say if you're able to see their email address or maybe date of birth, which was hidden, and because you could see only yours, and if there's a bug and you could see, you could enumerate on these IDs and you could get anyone else's, let's say anyone else's date of birth or anyone else's emails as well. So then that would be an IDOR. So I'll be showing some of the reports where like the reports are from ranging from very basic to some advanced level as well. So I'll be talking about there, and you might get a bit in depth of this. Now let's talk about some broken user authentication thing. So in APIs, since some APIs that are considered internal, so these are not usually protected. And if you find these, so usually these are a treasure trove of information because they were marked, they were like thought about as well, so they might not have a lot of checks. So there could be a broken user authentication thing. So that's the broken user authentication. So there could be like, say, suppose, let's say take an example of this. So we saw here, there's this pet find by status, right? So the URL was this v2 pet find by status. So let's say there was an API which is hidden to us, v2/internal/pets sold or something like that. So this internal, basically you're trying to fuzz the URL endpoint. So you could use intruder for that. And there are a lot of fuzz lists. So sec lists, API fuzz thing. I think I will see. I will get something API endpoints. Yeah. So you could see that 0, 1, 1.0. So this is V1, V0, V1. So after V, you would try to fuzz these numbers so as to get all the like 1 to 9 version V0, V1, V2, V3. So you try to fuzz the number thing. Then there's these other common endpoints that's there in the API. So there's this build endpoint, there's this billing endpoint, auth token, auth, apps, data, date, deactivate. So these are common endpoints that there are in a lot of applications. So this is a kind of listing of all those. So yeah, so you could check this. So you could create your own as well, but this is a like ready-made list of like 174 words. So you could try this out. So yeah, so that's what I was talking about. That if there's an internal endpoint or internal API that you figure out, so that would be a treasure trove of information. Check for that whether that information is valuable or not. It could be that there's this internal endpoint, but you are just able to get the date or time of the server. So that's not vulnerable, right? So even if you report for that, it would, at max, it might get marked as informative. So there's no point reporting that. Or if you want, you could do that, but there's not a lot of, you shouldn't have a lot of expectation from that. Then there are these weak API keys that are not rotated. So what happens in some of the cases that these APIs, these issues API keys, and let's say the API key has been issued, and once the API cannot be revoked or it's just not visible on the UI, but you can still use the API keys. So suppose you use like okay, I don't have that right now. Okay, I would be showing this an example of this as well in some time. So for timing, let me explain what the use case could be. So let's say you have this GitHub API and you create a token for that. So you can see the token on the GitHub's. There's this profile personal dashboard. So on the settings page, there's this developer settings, and into that you can see some of the API keys that's there. So let's say this API key that you used, and now you have deleted this API key. And this deleted API key is deleted from the UI, but it's not actually deleted or it's not dated. So what could happen is if this API key got leaked onto GitHub or somewhere else, so the person who has got hold of this, they would still use this and so that's the second thing that you should check. So if you can create an API key for some of the endpoints, you should try to delete that API key and then try to access the same endpoints using the same API key, whether from the deleted API key. So if you are still able to do that, then you can report it there itself. Authentication susceptible to brute force attacks and credential stuffing. So a lot of these API endpoints, what happens is there's this authorization header or so authorization header or maybe a basic header, and in the basic header there you just insert username and password, which is in the base64 encoded format. So it could be that on the API endpoint, there is no check for this, and you could try different, like in the header, you could just change the values, and you could try for a lot of, like, say, 100,000 username passwords. Or if you want to do a targeted app, so you could just keep the username same and change the password, and then base64 encode it, and then send it to using intruder. So like you could do these multiple processing. So first you insert different password, then you encode it, and then you send it. So this is the third thing that I'm talking about, the broken user authentication. I think it's clear till here. Let's go to this Portugal lab, and let me just pause the sharing screen. Okay, let me. Okay, I've seen some chats, and let's. So I'm just opening the Portugal labs for the time being. Okay, so we'll do some IDORs there. One IDOR. Portugal lab. Yep. I would have to switch on my burp as well for this. So I already tried this yesterday, so that's why it shows solved. But as soon as it opens, I would start sharing the screen. So I'm using a Burp Community Edition for it, so you could use it as well. You don't need to have a professional for this. It's kind of a logic bug, so that's why you don't need to have that. Okay, let's see. We have Burp open. Cool. Let me share the screen again. Yeah, Gaurish, this would be, obviously this would be going on YouTube. I don't mind uploading this. All my live streams, previous live streams are also there. Okay, yeah. So there's this insecure direct object reference lab. It's a very basic one. There's not, and in fact, IDOR bugs are the easiest bug to find. So even if you don't know a lot of technicalities, you could just change the number and you could see whether you're able to get someone else's data or not. So that's very easy. And once I discuss some of the reports, you could easily understand that. So let's see the description of this. This lab stores user chat logs directly on the server's file system and retrieves them using static URLs. Solve the lab by finding the password for the user Carlos and logging into their account. So I've opened this. Here's the live chat. So in real life scenarios, you won't be given this, that there's this bug on the live chat system, but you would have to look into every URL and everything and changing all the values. So there, authorize would be very helpful. I will be talking about that in my next video. So make sure you check that out as well as soon as it gets out. So authorize and auto repeater. So using a combination of these, you could very easily automate IDOR finding. So I use this I use this add-on called Foxy Proxy. It helps me switch my proxies very easily. Otherwise, you could also go to the settings of Brave, Chrome, or Firefox, and you could change the proxy manually there. I find it easy to use, so that's why I'm using it. Here's the burp. Go to the proxy, intercept is off, so that I could see all the traffic here. Let's say hello, send. Am I able to see the options? I'm not sure why I'm not able to see this. Okay, yeah. So let's say I want to get the transcript. So let's say, so here's the download transcript thing. And once you download it, you get it, like you get the TXT file. So here's the chat for this. I mentioned hello, and then Halpine replied, I can hear you. There's no need to shout. So here's that, I can hear you. So if I send it to repeater, and the shortcut is Control R. For Mac, you would use Command R, and Command Shift R is the shortcut to switch between the tabs. So if you want to switch to repeater, it's Command Shift R. If you want to switch to intruder, it's Command Shift I. I think for target, it would be Command Shift T. For proxy, Command Shift P. So Command Shift is the thing, or Control Shift on Linux and Mac Windows machines. So let's come back to this. So if I go to send, So I will get the transcript for the 2.txt. So it's quite evident. So if you find a number here, just switch it to like, let's say 1, because since there's a 2 number, so there would definitely be a 1 thing. So we get the chat for the first person was there. So 1.txt. So 2.txt was for my chats. 1.txt is for someone else's. So if you see here, hi Hal, I think I've forgotten my password. I need confirmation that I have got the right one. Sure, nice problem. Just tell me your password and I will confirm whether it's the correct or not. Wow, you're so nice. I heard that from other people that you can be right. Take one to no one. Okay, so my password is this. So someone added their password into the chat, and now since I'm able to access it, so it's probably Carlos, because we have already been told about this. Carlos password and login. So that's the basic of this. There's nothing hard about it. So congratulations, Solve Lab. So you could see that IDOR bugs are very easy to find, and yeah, that's pretty much all about this. There's nothing more into it. Let me show you one more thing. So let's come to the reports. So I have this reports here. So restore all. So this is one tab. One tab is quite easy and quite good to use for me. Facebook. So there was this Facebook bug. There's this HackerOne reports. GraphQL. So first we'll be talking about the very basic one. This is the get bug, and this is the GraphQL IDOR. So I'll be talking about all these. Let's start with the basic sequence. So the basic bugs. So here, this person was able to get the birth year of anyone else's birth on facebook.com. So m.facebook.com. So m.facebook.com, mbasic.facebook.com, and facebook.com. I think these three are the different. Like there could be some functionality in all of these. So I also had this issue once. So I didn't get a bug on main website, whereas this was the same OTP bypass on mbasic.facebook.com. And because at that time I didn't know about mbasic, so I didn't get that bug. Otherwise, it was a good find there. It could have been a good find there. So here the reporter says that there's this URL pattern m.facebook.com, user ID, year, and then there's actual year. So if you type the actual year, you get the post and lifetime event that happened on the timeline. So if you like say this person had 1978, so if you put it right, so if you put 1978 there, so you would see the actual lifetime event. But if you add a wrong year here, you won't get that. And because like you could iterate over the years, so you could easily see anyone else's birth year. So that's what he did. He also made a small script kind of thing where you just need to write the user ID, Facebook username or ID, and then the script will try each and every year until it finds a post that has this born thing here. So you could easily understand that it was quite an easy one. And for this, I think he was awarded $3,000. Yeah, because Facebook takes privacy very seriously. So he was awarded $3,000 for this very same thing. It was in 2015, so it's quite back. I don't think you would find these very mostly there are IDOR bugs on Facebook, but yeah. This one is NordVPN, so it was closed like a year back, and this is quite interesting because here you didn't have to log into the service as well. So here this person mentioned that you need to just send this post request and you don't need any authentication on that. So you just go to this nordvpn.com and into your burp, you send a post request to this, and there's this parameter user ID. So there's this user ID parameter, and if you just iterate over this, you change the ID to 894, like it was his test account. So user ID earlier was 230937882. So you get the value as to how this was being paid. And if you change the user ID to a different number, you would get a different person's invoice. So here you get the invoice ID and the amount that was being paid and other details. So you could see that it was leaking sensitive customer data. So there were receipts, there could be payment details as to address or the receipt address or something like that. So that's basically sensitive information. So that was this, and for this, this person was awarded $1,000 bounty from NordVPN. And you could see that it was very basic. So if I would have been testing this, and because I don't know the user ID is vulnerable, so I might try user ID. Plan ID, there's no point in trying plan ID because plan ID, like iterating over plan ID, you would get different plans. And like basically there could be a 1 month plan, or there could be a 3 month plan, there could be a 12-month plan. So even if there's this IDOR thing on plan ID, that won't be a sensitive information. So if I had this payload and if this was in my burp, I would definitely go and try with user ID. So the good thing that this person did was he made a test account and he tried with that. So don't go with intruder and try iterating over all the accounts. So that could be a breach of trust and you could get a lot of customer data. So you might be banned from the program as well. And also there could be other case where you might not get any user data, because these could be, the user ID might not be sequential. So it's good to have 2 accounts and for testing, and insert the other account's user ID. So that's the same thing that I do when I do testing on Facebook. And even auto repeater helps in like switching these very easily. So we'd see in the second video about that. Now let's talk about Vimeo.com. So there was this IDOR in 2015. It was reported. It's a $5,000. So here the person hasn't mentioned details, but if you go to the like PDF, you would see that the IDOR was in the reset thing. So it's an interesting one. So what happens is there's this forgot password thing on Vimeo. So it used to happen there. You enter the email address, so you get the forgot password link onto your email. And once you the link was something like that: Vimeo.com forgot password, user ID, and the token. So this token was valid for any user ID. So if you change the user ID to like, let's say, anyone else's, so you could reset their password, and like that's quite a huge thing. So that's why they mentions here, the person mentioned that where is this? Yeah. So this Vimeo in 2015, they didn't have a bug bounty program still. They were still onboarding and they couldn't still pay out, but they expedited the process and then they paid this researcher for the same. So you could understand the impact that it could have. You could reset anyone else's password throughout the whole ecosystem of Vimeo. So that's why he was awarded $5,000 in that time. Now there's this last one, IDOR in GraphQL on portal Facebook leads to change of setting. So what happens was there was this portal.facebook.com. On that, when you sign up, there's this parameter variables. There's this information. So if you are testing on Facebook, so you would see this kind of JSON payload quite frequently. There's this input thing, then there's this client mutation ID. And moreover, because that's a GraphQL thing, so in GraphQL, there's this mutation and other kinds of stuff. So mutation is for changing any backend data. Like if you see an analogous comparison to a REST API, so on REST, there would be a post request. For GraphQL, there's this mutation. So here the actor ID thing, and then there was this email. So actor ID is usually the person who is trying to perform the request. And that's very strictly checked. So I've tried on a lot of endpoints and I didn't get any luck with that. So I'm just letting you know. So if you're trying, actor ID might not be vulnerable in most of the cases. If you find good, you can report it. So what happened was he says that while submitting, he changed the email value from whatever email was his to someone else's account. And the target account, like say target@example.com. So if now when you go to like portal.facebook.com/account, the victim will see that the following options have been activated without his permission. And this was product updates, promotion, and email address subscribe. So these 3 things would automatically get enabled on those. So if it was a genuine request, it should be activated on the person who is trying to do this request. But since you hire on emails, you just change the email ID to the victim's email ID, and these things would get activated on their profile. So a major thing that could have happened is, let's say there was this something called, let's say there was a premium subscription kind of thing, and you would be able to activate it automatically on someone else's account. So they might not know, but there would be some charge or there would be some payment that they would have to do. So that could be a serious issue. There's one more report that I want to show. So this was me reporting to Government of India, DigiLocker credits. I think, yeah. So I reported in during my second year. So DigiLocker is a service, if you not know. So there's this all the digital documents that we have. Oh, why and that's very bad. Okay. Community contribution there should have been. Anyways, okay, let's come back to this. So DigiLocker is basically okay, yeah, fine. It's here. So you can see my name is here. So let me talk about what happened here. So DigiLocker is a government initiative by Government of India, and what they do is they have all the documents digitized and stored into a digital locker, which is provided by the government. And as of now, I think there's more than 4.5 billion documents here. There's a statistics page. So you could see the registered users. There's this 4.26 billion documents. 53 million users are registered. So at the time when I reported an IDOR onto this, so there were around 1.4 billion documents were there. So you could see anyone else. So all the Aadhaar details and maybe any document that you have. So all the documents are already saved here. So if you have, let's say, a driving license, or if you have maybe a 12 mark sheet or 10th mark sheet, so you could have that all linked into DigiLocker, and a lot of other services also getting registered here. So see Aadhaar card, driving license, vehicle registration. These are all the services that have their links with DigiLocker. So any of the document that you have with any of these organizations, so you could easily like get it onto DigiLocker. So at that time there were limited number of organizations, but since Aadhaar data was always there, so like around 1 billion document was already there, and there were like in total there was 1.4 billion documents. So using an IDOR there, I was able to access any of those 1.4 billion documents. I reported it to government, and they acted very promptly and in a very professional manner. They fixed it at the time, and like I think that time there wasn't this page. So I asked them whether there was a like Hall of Fame or whether they are rewarding in any monetary terms. So they told me that no, they won't. They don't have a monetary policy there, but they would definitely make this page, and then they added me there. So there's this LinkedIn page of mine, so you could go and check that out. So enough promotion about me. Let's come back to this. I think that's all that I had. Yep, I think that's all. Maybe I can take some questions now. I think I missed a lot. Okay, let me post it there as well. That the session is complete now. You could post some questions. Where should I put it here? Let the questions. Okay, I think that would be fine. Okay, I'm starting from the top. So does getting ISO 27001 lead auditor having CH stock related and will help doing initial? So doing initial stages of what? Like if you want to be an auditor, I think the ISO certification would help. So I'm taking this question from Learner, which was posted on 11:05 AM. So he asked that, does getting ISO 27001 lead auditor or having CH SOC related training will help during initial stages? So I don't know what he means by initial stages, but I think if the person wants to be an auditor, I think the ISO certification would definitely help. Whereas CH and SOC related, CH is for mostly pen testing, and moreover, I don't think CH helps a lot. OSCP would be a better choice, but yeah, you could check for that. Good morning, bro. Good morning. Yes, how are you? I'm fine. Nitech is asking. Yes, it's visible. So it's lagging. Sorry, there was some lag. There could be some lag. Good presentation and clear sound. Thank you. Shikhar. Thanks, Shikhar. Shikhar is again one of my classmates from my DPS RKP times. Will you upload this session on YouTube? Gaurish is asking. Yeah, definitely. This would be on YouTube. Nice, great, sir. Can you give some suggestion? I need some help. Rishabh, please learn how to ask questions. So this person asked, sir, can you give some suggestions? I need some help. So there's nothing that I understood from this. What kind of session? What kind of help he wants? Pradeep, thanks. Newbie boy. Prince is again my classmate. Thanks, Prince. Rishabh, you can ping me here as well. You can ping me on Twitter as well. That's fine. API. So I have, like, as you saw in the video, so Mr. Sam Gaming is asking how many videos you will make on API expert. So I have, like, I covered these two topics here. I would try to cover it in another video, like one video on this. So where I would, or maybe two. So one video would be where I would be talking about authorize and auto repeater and how you could automate that. So there's this very good video from Stroke. Like, it's 11-12 minutes, so it's a short one. So if you cannot wait, you could go and check that out. It's quite a good one. So yeah, there he talks about how you can use auto repeater and authorize. So I'd be making one on that, and I would also making broken user authentication and how authorize and auto repeater can be used to check for broken access control or improper access control. Mr. Sam Gaming has another question. I started hunting from 1 month and getting duplicates all the time. How can I overcome it? I mean, you cannot. It's good that you're getting at least duplicates, because it means that you are hunting for the right things, just a bit late. So yeah, you give some time, because as I have already told, there's no secret to bug hunting. You just need to be persistent and have some patience. Good things take time. I want to, like, the $8,000 bug bounty that I got. That was not the very first of my bug hunting. So I had been hunting, like, let's say, or I've been into CTFs and bug bounties for 5 years. But bug bounties I started like 1 or 2 years earlier. But throughout the InfoSec career, if you would ask, I was there for 5 to 6 years, and that was one day I got it. So that's a bit of luck as well, and some of your hard work also. So yeah, like, it would take some time. I want to start coding. How much I earn from coding? So you could earn a lot from coding as well. I cannot, like, I'm not sure what you mean. If you want to do freelancing or if you want to work for a company, so that's that. So Kark Moban is asking, suggest best approach to learn new bugs and how to hunt them. So the best approach to learn new bugs is reading a lot. And so, like, any person, if they find a new strategy to hunt it, they would definitely check for all the programs, and then only they would publicize it, right? It's so that at least they would have checked everything. So if you want to be the first person, you would have to find your own methods, your own ways. You would have to try to experiment things. You would have to check different applications. So let's say the amount of time that you spend. So if you spend, like, let's say 10 hours or 20 hours, maybe a week on this, so eventually that would compound, that would accumulate to more than 100 hours a month. So if you're spending that much amount of time, try to experiment with different things. Even if 10% of your time is spent in experimenting different things, or looking at new applications or new frameworks that's coming up, like, let's say Golang is being very popular these days, or let's say there's this, maybe any JavaScript framework that's getting very popular, or any DevOps thing like Gates or Kubernetes is getting very popular these days. So you might try to find bugs on that. So let's take an example for Kubernetes. So if Kubernetes is getting very popular, and you studied about it and you found that people write YAML files there. So YAML is kind of a convention. I've already talked about what a YAML file is. So let me show you what a YAML file is. Share screen, application window. So let's say, should I show? Let's say YAML file. So let's see an example for this. So Kubernetes has the configuration in YAML files, and you started studying about Kubernetes, and you found that people write data in YAML. So in Kubernetes, the people happen to write some passwords there as well. So you know that, okay, there's this misconfiguration that people write passwords and in YAML, and there's this particular string, and after that they write the password. So since you have studied Kubernetes and you are ahead of other people, so you would be definitely checking those on GitLab and GitHub for that particular string. Similar thing goes for other applications. Like, suppose if you're working with GemCloud or any other services which are products, so you know that there are these misconfigurations that happen, or this is a particular header, or this is a particular way that API key is hard-coded into it. You would check for those strings on GitHub or GitLab. So using different products and maybe using different applications or new things that's coming up, that might help you be ahead of the other person or other folks who are posting it later on. So that would be kind of an original research for you. Okay. When 0K 500 depends on skills. What's okay? Let's how much I earn coding. Okay, so Wiki Winner has another question. What is the future of software developer job? So, I mean, what do you mean by future? So a lot of people are software developers, and they are also heavily paid if they are into the good companies, or if you're in startups, you learn a lot in software development. So always focus on getting your base or core skills very strong, because there could be frameworks coming and going, there could be tools coming and going, but if you have a solid rock foundation, like that would help you in a long way, and like that would be something that you would have always with you. So focus on your basics first, on your fundamentals, make them strong, then try to look into other things. How to become coding champions ask how to become ethical hacker. I mean, you are onto this channel, so it's like the first step that you have already taken, that you're trying to learn different things. So don't try to be a bug bounty hunter, try to be a hacker, because hunting for bugs, it could be that you're lucky and you get some bugs someday, but you might not learn a lot of things, right? So it's good that if you try to learn new things, if you try to exploit bugs, and if you try to learn how software works, so that would help you a long way as compared to just using tools or finding secret somewhere or the other, because that's actually just luck by chance, or maybe just you're getting something some days but other days you're not getting. So try to work on your skills. So if you're good at, let's say, recon, so if you're good at finding things, so try to automate, or maybe try to up level yourself or upskill yourself on that, maybe automate that stuff so that you could focus on something else as well, so that you can, like, let's say to learn about HTTP request. If you think that in the next few try on every other website, so that I have a strong grasp on these two topics. So that way you learn. So you break down, like let's say you have these 10 topics into mind. Okay, these 10 things, or these are 10 things that ethical hacker down these things into short, and then try to cover these in a fixed time, like let's say 1 month or 2 months. So if you have 10 topics in mind, let's say you give each topic 1 month, so like after a year at least you be sure that you would be in a way better position than you are currently, and you might be the person on the other side of screen, and you would be answering the questions as to what you are asking right now. So RUP Games is asking, install Kali. I'm not sure what it means, but I had Kali Linux for like 4 years of my college. But I think that didn't matter to me a lot, because at most I would be, sometimes I used to do Metasploit, but I could have that on Ubuntu itself. Kali was a bit heavy, but it's quite good. And yeah, you get the hacker vibes. Wiki Winner, okay, 0K, 500K depends on skills. Python, thanks, coding for fun. I think it's like game. For becoming ethical, you could also try for these war games. So I've been talking about this over the wire. Let me show. So these are some of the sites that I'm sharing with you right now. You could check this out. Sorry, let me share the entire screen. So over the wire war games, Pico CTFs. So Pico CTF, I've already told to a lot of people that you should try with Pico CTF. So these are CTFs, and there's no like, it's not like Bug Bounty that only the first person gets to know. So you can solve these challenges and you could learn a lot from these. And these have helped me in my like Bug Bounty as well. Although there wasn't anything as hard as you get in CTFs, but so in CTFs, you have to have a vertical depth knowledge about these things, whereas in Bug Bounties, you need to have a horizontal level, because you need to know a lot of things. Whereas in CTFs, you need to know about one thing, but you need to know it very depth. So CTFs is very good to have, or upskill yourself and learn a lot of new things. And a lot of new CTFs are coming up, so it's kind of very competitive. So you could try and you could make your teams. So on our Discord server, if would have been to my Discord server, there's a channel called CTF, where people who are participating in different CTFs, they form teams and then they try to do that. So I haven't been very honestly, I haven't been doing CTF for like say for some time. I did it once or twice in last year with my juniors from my college. But if you're willing to do that, post it on Discord. I would be happy to participate in that as well. So if you go to this website, ctftime.org, so currently you would see that these 4 CTFs are running. So currently you would see that these 4 CTFs are running. So yeah, and this past event, you could create your team and register on CTF, and you could see this Perfect Blue is currently the world's top team. Then More Spoke, Lead Chicken, PPP, it's Carnegie Mellon University's team. Dragon Sector is, I think it's Genwell's team. So Genwell is a Google security engineer, and he has a channel also on YouTube. You could check that out as well. So it's their team. So a lot of people are doing these security engineers and bug bounty hunters. Security engineers more, not bug bounty hunters a lot. Now let's come to this Wargames. So Wargames are again similar kind of thing. So here 2 of these I have seen or I have done. So in Bandit, it is for learning Bash. So there are these like 34 levels. So you learn about Bash scripting and different Bash commands like ls command, cat command, and a lot of other commands. So if you practice this, so let's say you go to level 0 and you practice this, so you have to practice SSH here. So level goal is mentioned here, and it's quite interesting to do. Let me see this, some call coming, I think. Oh, sorry, there was this call. Okay, let me switch to this mode. It looks better. Okay, so I was talking about these. So let's say you are trying this Bandit level 0. So you would learn about SSH, and then as you progress through the levels, you would learn a lot of the command line tools. So if you are, let's say, if you're a hacker, even if you are going to be a programmer, so you would have to have quite mastery over terminal. So that would help you increase your productivity. So think that you might be doing it, let's say, in half an hour. So if you have quite a strong grasp of CLI, you might be able to do it in 10 or 15 minutes itself. Then there's this NATAS. So if you're not interested into the CLI or Linux part, you could check the web security thing. So there's again, I think 34 levels, and these are web challenges. So you would learn a lot of these web things. In CTFs also, there are a lot of categories. So if you want, you could just practice the web questions. If you want, you could try for reverse engineering or pawning questions, all those things. So that's also an interesting thing to do. Let's stop the screen sharing. Okay, let's check for other questions I have. I think GitHub. Okay, where's this? Future of software developers. So Vicky Runner asked future of software developers. And the future is always good for people in IT, I think. Software developers also like good thing, good career choice. There's this Mr. Sam Gaming question. I learned SQLite. So I'm going sequentially through it. So don't think that I'm just taking questions for a few people. I'm taking everyone's question. So there's this Mr. Sam Gaming's question. So he says, I learned SQLite, XSS, CSRF, 2FA bypass. Any other trending bugs will you suggest? I mean, bugs are not trending, but it depends. Like if you're doing like, let's say if you're doing GraphQL, if you're checking for Facebook, so I would say that check for IDORs. I would say check for GraphQL bugs. If you're checking for HackerOne, then they also work on GraphQL. So I would say check for GraphQL bugs. So even GraphQL bugs are the same, like IDOR bugs are there. There's SQL injection on that as well. So yeah, so those are quite interesting bugs. So recently, okay, yeah, these are quite good. If you are checking for this online gaming platforms or maybe online casino platforms or similar to that, so check for WebSocket bugs. So a lot of applications also use WebSocket, so mostly gaming applications. So check for WebSocket hijacking, or there's another WebSocket bug I already talked about, so you could check for that as well. So it depends on which target you're working for. So do a proper recon of the target. So with recon, I don't mean that check for subdomains and all that. With recon, I mean check for the technologies that's working there. What are the other things that they interact with? So based on that, try to make a target plan for yourself. So what you would be doing there. Where are you from? So I am from Patna, Bihar. It's in India, if you don't know. So it's a Wikipedia question. What is your job? So my job is I work as a security engineer at Grofers. So there's a lot of things that we do here. So mostly anything that's related to security that comes to me and my team. So we monitor infrastructure security. We build systems so that people cannot hack into Grofers, and we build automated systems around that. We also do sometimes pen testing of the applications. Mostly it's outsourced, but sometimes we also do that. Thanks. I said GitHub Recon for. So Anshu Sharma has asked GitHub Recon for information disclosure tips. There was this tip from sorry. There was this tip from Mr. Gentleman. He's quite good at GitHub Recon. So what he said that you could if you have a few GitHub docs which are quite easily available online. So you just go to that. So let me show that if do I have my GitHub logged in here? I don't have it. Okay, let me log into GitHub. Then I would show what I meant with that and what he meant with that. So what he essentially meant that you just check the number of results that you got by best recently sorted thing. So at the next you would have an easy idea as to if the numbers have changed. So just have numbers. So that's what it did. Let me share the screen and I would show what he meant by that. Yeah, someone mentioned already in the gentleman's video on Bug Crowd. Yeah, that was a very good one. So you could see that I also looked at videos and other reports and such so that I get updated with this, because security is an ongoing thing. It's not that you can say, okay, I am done with security. I know everything. It's not like that. It's a developing thing, and every day you do something or the other. So let's say I want to check for XO basic. Let me share this. Application window, search. Okay, I think it's visible now. So let's say I have to check for this XOAuth basic string. So this I came to know when I was we were doing some security hardening inside our company. So we found that this XOAuth basic, the string before this is basically it's kind of a credential, which is using that you could directly get a GitHub, you can git clone something. So the use case that developers use this is for in some cases you might not have SSH credential, you might not want to do login while git cloning something. So if you are getting say internal repo from somewhere, so for that you need to have this XOAuth basic, or you could add a SSH credential to directly git clone thing. So if you don't want to get clone with that, you could add this OAuth token. So see here, if you go to the GitHub blog, so easier builds and deployment using Git over HTTPS and OAuth. So next you can simply use an OAuth token for username, either blank password or the string OAuth when cloning a repository. So instead of doing this, because since these automated builds, there's this Jenkins server or other machines which automatically download this private tools and run commands they want. So instead of doing that, you could just use git clone and then token and OXOAuth basic. So since I know that, okay, I have to check. So what the gentleman said that check the results here. Let's say you have checked it for, let's say last 13 hours ago. So let's say suppose 4 pages back. So So it's still last indexed 2 days ago. So what he mentioned in the thing was that, let's say you have something which is going for a week, right? Like 14th December. So probably if there was a credential before that, it might already be known to other people, or it might have already been reported. So only look in this recent let's say index 30 minutes ago. So if it was the person would not have been knowing this, and you could report it. So suppose if it was Sony company's XOR basic or any other VDP or non-VDP or bug bounty program, so you could report it to them. So sort it on the basis of recently indexed, check for the number of results. So the number of results change, or just have a basic idea ki, okay, I got this repo and last time it was still here. So the next time I do this, like let's say the next day I go and I do the same thing, I check for the same XOR basic string. So next time I would see the results still here, because before that I've already seen all the other results. So that's a very easy thing to do. Okay, let's come back to this. Is it necessary to become from IT? Vikivin has this question. So I don't think from IIT. So sorry, I am also not from IIT. I am from Triple IT Allahabad, and it's not at all necessary to become from IIT. Okay. Anshu has already answered the gentleman bug crowd video. Yeah, it's very good. If you haven't checked that out, make sure you do that. Sanjay Lekhak has written, is it possible to earn only from bug bounty and not having a job in India? And how much time it takes to be earning good money from bounties only? See, I have a job, and I would highly recommend having a job, because having a stable source of income gives you a peace of mind that would not be provided, that you won't get from anywhere else. And how much time does it take to be a good? So a lot of people, they see posts or screenshots of people earning, like say $5,000, $3,000, but there's a lot of mental pressure, and a lot of things goes into that. Since I have a stable income, a stable source of income from my job, so I don't have to worry about that. So once a while I do this for my own learning or for learning new things. So I don't just run tools and get all those. So that way you learn a lot of things, and you are not dependent on bug bounty income, right? Even a lot of bug bounty hunters, you would see that they might have switched careers to security engineer just because it gives a stable source of income. I don't say that you won't be able to earn a lot from that. Definitely a lot of the millionaires who have earned from that only. But I would say that if you are want to, like, have a look on both the perspective as well. Have a look on getting a job and having a stable source of income, and also doing bug bounty on the side would, like, that's a better proposition for me personally, if there was a choice about that. Is it necessary to study software developing from IIT college? I don't know what he means, but I think it's the same question that he went with the previous one. I've seen, like, I have a few friends from IITs as well who were not into computer science. They were doing like one of the guy was doing chemical engineering. The other one was probably in mechanical or textile. I don't remember the branch, but they love bug bounties. They ask me questions a lot of times, and they're also doing quite decent, but they have a job. So I am not provoking anyone to don't do a job and do this. So I would highly recommend that you get a job, because that would give you a sense of satisfaction and peace of mind while once you come back home, and you would always have your weekend to do these, or after work you would have time to do all these. Then there's this question from Ramkrishna Sawan: is OSCP certification has good reputation in India? So OSCP is highly reputed. Recently, it has been a bit low on reputation due to some cases where people were doing kind of cheating. Mostly in India, I have heard about these, that people were asking other people to give their exam, but still it's highly reputed throughout the industry. I think Ramkrishna has posted same question. CTF time for CTF come, yeah. Okay. Anshu Sharma, I didn't know about it. Can you tell me your target if you okay, where is it? Okay, Mr. Sam Gaming has another question. Can you tell me your target approach if you get star.exam? So if I get target has all the subdomains into allowed, so that's a huge scope. So first thing I would say is do a subdomain enumeration. So I've already mentioned about this the script that I have where I just enter the domain and we enter the domain and get all the subdomains, and then there's Aquatone run on that so that I could get the screenshots, and I also check for subdomain takeovers automatically. So while this is all being run automatically, I go to the application manually and I start my burp suite. All the traffic is going through burp suite. So I'm using that. Since all the traffic is going through burp suite, I just go throughout the application. I check all the flow. I understand the application, what it is. Like, let's say if I were to use, let's say if I were to test for youtube.com and all the domains were allowed, so I would be running my automated scanner on my VPS or wherever you want, your personal laptop. I would recommend using a VPS because that leaves the burden from your laptop. So that doesn't matter wherever you do. So I just have that running on a separate machine. So that the subdomain innovation, then checking for automated subdomain takeovers, then running Aquatone for screenshots and subdomain takeovers. So all these are happening automatically in the background while I am just running my browser. The traffic is going through Burp Suite and going through the application. So if it's youtube.com, I would check for different videos. I would try to comment on the videos. I would try to like the video, dislike the video. I would try to subscribe, check the subscribe button. I would try to check this join button. I would try to check the payment flow, like whatever the lowest payment would be. I would try to check for that. Then I would also try to check for the icons on the channel page. So if you are going to a channel page, so let me share the screen. So let's say, okay. Let's say this is what I was testing. So I would test this share search button as well. I would try to check this audio button as well. Since I'm logged in, if I wouldn't have been logged in, so I would check both the flow, the logged in flow and the not logged in flow. I would check these buttons if there's something, or if I could do something here as well. Then I would check these side buttons. I would check here what are the different sections. Okay, that's just a UI change. Then I would try to check this notification, the YouTube apps, create button. I would try to upload a video, check the uploading flow, check the YouTube Studio thing. So there's a lot of things in just youtube.com. So same way I would go for any other application. So do the automated process in the background, and then do a manual process, a manual check of the application through tunneling all the traffic through Burp Suite. So if you have a pro license, there's a lot of basic low-hanging bugs that you would automatically get. Even if you don't have a pro license, there are a few extensions that help you find a lot of low-hanging bugs. Like there was this secret finder using which I found this NPM token. So it didn't actually get me the direct NPM token. I had to do a few things, but it still pointed to me in the right direction. If you get example.com, I think I see the same comment a lot of time. They call me RC for lacking. How much time did you spend in the program? So usually, like, I don't do bug hunting a lot, but when I do, I try to like once or twice in a quarter. Like in 3 months, I do once or maybe twice. But I try to spend till I feel that okay, now I've tested everything. There's nothing that I could test further. So that kind of level of confidence, or that kind of assurity, you only get once you have gained a lot of knowledge. Even if you don't have a lot of knowledge, you would at least know that from what you know, you have tested everything. So till the time you're not exhausted, you could check to it. So usually I, let's say 10 to 12 hours, and I try to keep it in 1 or 2 blocks of time. So I cannot sit for 12 hours straight, but I try to do it one day, because at that time, if you're doing it on the same day, you have a high level of concentration. And there's this book called Deep Work, if you don't know about it. So deep work mentions that if you do something for continuous long periods of time, you get into the flow of thing. Like in the flow of thing, meaning that you get ideas about it, you get to think innovatively about it, because you are solely focused onto that. So instead of giving 1 hour chunk for like every day, I try to keep it 1 day or 2 day, and I do that for the almost in the most of the time. So let's say 10-12 hours. Do you know about Reset Hacker? I don't know about Reset Hacker, sorry. Which is the best college for software developer in India government? So I can't say the IITs are known for their good. Triple ITs are also good, but it's not that the college teaches you a lot of things. You could do a lot from your own self. So even if you're not into the like top IITs or triple ITs or NITs, you'd still learn because you'd still be a better coder or maybe even better than other people because today resources are very easily available, so you don't have to, because colleges don't teach how to do competitive coding or how to do let's say how to do ethical hacking. They teach you the basic course, and that basic course like that's almost similar to in any place. The only advantage that you get in being in triple IT, let's say if you're in triple IT, because I have been into triple IT, so I can talk about it. So the only advantage you get is that there's kind of an environment where a lot of people are coding, so you get into that maybe mood or peer pressure, whatever you say that. But since a lot of people are coding, you get help easily. Whereas since I wasn't into competitive coding, so for me there wasn't it wasn't very helpful for me because not like in, let's say, in very few colleges, very few people do something called ethical hacking or bug bounties. So yeah, but yeah, definitely my seniors knew about CTFs and like they knew something, so they told me, and then I pursued it on my own. So they did help me initially because I didn't know there was this thing called CTF where I could practice it and learn a lot of things. So once we went to on-site round in CTF, so it was CISO CTF. In my second year, we went there, and when we went on the like the finals of the, like it was the world finals, but since it's regional, so we went to the India regions, which was in IIT Kanpur. So there we met other folks and we talked to them. So it's very good that you talk to people, you build a network, you go to conferences and you learn stuff from other people, what's happening around. Just don't sit in your room and just think, okay, I would do this, I would do that. Talk to other people, see how good it is, how beneficial it would be, because talking to other people, you could get to know, okay, this is also happening, this is the thing that I could do. So once we went to their on-site round, we got to know, okay, we have to learn reverse engineering. This is how you could learn. We got to know about live overflow channel. So in our colleges, no one did that. So we never got to know about those things. But going there and participating in these events, CTF events, or if you're doing bug bounties or bug bounty events, or there's, while I was in Delhi, so I used to go to this null Delhi meetup. So it happens every month, and you could register it on the website. So if you have these meetups or hacker groups in nearby or wherever you are, so make sure you go to them, you talk to people, you see their talks there. You would get to know a lot of things. So networking does definitely help. So it's not that college would teach you. You could learn it yourself. There's a lot of resources online. You should definitely do open source contributions, because if you're good at developing software, if you're good at developing things, you'll definitely be good at breaking those. So I myself know Python. I've developed a few things. I made a social network while I was in college. So I try to learn stuff from that, and that helps me do that. Like recently, I was learning React Native and Flutter. So my app, that Omnisec app, it's into React Native, and the backend is coded in Python Flask. So I've also been learning Golang because I wanted to like make tools which were faster than Python. So concurrent programming or concurrent requests are very easily embedded into Go's ecosystem. So that's the reason I was learning that. So there's no best thing, but yeah, definitely you would have a better chance of doing. So if you do open source contributions, and if you like making projects on GitHub or participating into other events, going into meetups, like not only hackathon meetups, but null meetups or software developer meetups. So going into conferences. So if you're a student, try to go as a volunteer, because going as a volunteer, you could go there for free and you could attend the conferences which are very heavily which are heavy costing. I know this from a friend of mine or a colleague of mine. She goes there as a volunteer work, and then she attends those conferences free while she was in college. Because these conferences, they usually charge like, let's say, 5,000 or 10,000 bucks for like a conference, and a college student may not be able to afford that. So that's that. My friend is a medical student. He is a good bug hunter. Obviously, for being a good bug hunter, you don't need to be into computer science only. But if you have a mindset of a developer, you would definitely find bugs that are lucrative or that other people are not able to find. Whereas bug hunting could be you are also finding credentials and other stuff. So it's not that you have to be in ITs for being a bug hunter. He's also how do I approach bug bounty programs? Should I read bug types and actually run to programs? Should I have good knowledge of programming, or there is some other way? So I would say go and read a lot of reports and like have a particular target. Like first define the class of bugs that you're going to find. So let's say you go to OWASP top 10. So let me show the screen and say how I would suggest you approach something. OWASP top 10. Let's say, let me share the screen. Cool. Okay. So let's say you always refer to the very concrete examples are which are the industry-wide known standards. So first find that, okay, which is the best thing to learn web security. So there you might find about OWASP, then go to the OWASP page. So just don't go to random articles if you're just starting, because in the start you should have base which is very strong, and from being very strong, what I mean is that you should also have a proper like exact knowledge as to what is actually happening, and not a superficial knowledge. By there could be some reports which might have a detailed knowledge, but there could be others where they might just focus on the bounty amount and they might not exactly detail the steps as to how they got it. It could be that they didn't know that it was luck and they got that, but it's good to have a base strong. So refer the articles or refer the websites or documentation which is quite good and known industry wide. So OWASP is known industry wide and it's the like gold standard kind of thing. So let's say you are starting into bug hunting, so you get to know or web application security. So you get to know that there are these top 10 web application security risks. So now you have these 10 things to learn. So make a timeline kind of thing that, okay, in the first month, I would try to learn about injection. The second month, I would try to learn about broken authentication. And learning about it doesn't mean just reading reports and reading documentation and stuff. It also means practicing it. So first practice on websites which are vulnerable. So vulnerable website, there could be Swigger labs, there's DVWL labs, there's this Try Hack Me, there's this Hack the Box. There are a lot of other free and even paid applications. So first try on that. Don't just read injection and go and start looking bugs for on PayPal.com, because they're already very hardened targets. So you might not find anything and you might get a bit sad, or may not be energetic as you were while you were starting into it. You might think, okay, I cannot find it. And then again, in the next time, you might come and ask the same questions and I would answer it the same way as I've already answered. So don't try hardened targets. Try government websites or other and report them responsibly. So you can report it to CERT, or you could report it to NTRO or something. NCIIPC, NCIIPC, and CERT India. CERT India. So you could report to these websites. So you could get email address from where you could report to them. So if you find bugs on government websites, report to them. So if you're an Indian government, if you're an Indian, you can report it to an Indian government. Even if you're not an Indian, you could still report it. So it would help you strengthen the security of India's online infrastructure. You could report it to CERT India. So try on government websites, because I've seen government websites, they don't have very strong security as such. They are improving definitely, but still you would have a better chance testing applications which are not like being tested from a lot of people, compared to which is like battle hardened, like PayPal.com or Uber.com. And they definitely won't get any bugs, or you won't find any bugs on these hardened platforms for the first time. So it's good that you start with applications that are already vulnerable. So that's that. Can I get job in security company from commerce background? So that might be a bit difficult, but you can definitely get it if you have some credentials to show. Credentials means, say, if you are good into, so see, there are different kinds of jobs that company look for. So if you are looking at a startup, they might not look at your degree or something like that, or certifications. Whereas if we are going to, let's say, Big Four like KPMG, Deloitte, or any company which has some strict policies regarding hiring, so they might have a BTech degree. They might require you to have a BTech degree. Whereas for coming into startups, they might be lax on those requirements. And once you are into the industry, then if you are just switching from company to company, there you might not, there they might lack the requirement of these degrees. So you can get a job in security company even if you are from a commerce background, but you need to have very strong credentials proving that you are good at security. Like keep a blog where you update whatever findings you have, or also you could do is you could just don't post tweets about that I won $8,000 or $10,000. Yeah, I've already done that, but I've also posted articles about that. So I think that could be compensated. But if you are into like jobs, like recently after started this YouTube channel, after I've started teaching, so I try to provide actual good like proper content. So seeing this, I have got a few job offers as well. So it's good that whatever work you do it honestly and put it online so that other people or the community could also learn from that. So that would help build a reputation about yourself. Even if you are from whatever background you would still like get a job. You would have a higher chance of getting a job compared to any other person. I have interest in coding and other technical things. How I start from beginning? I'm in 12 maths. So given if you're in 12 maths, I would suggest that you first focus on your exams that's gonna come, because once you are in the college or whatever college you are, that doesn't matter. But if you are among a good crowd, so good crowd meaning say people go to IITs, triple IITs and ITs, good, they go to good colleges. A parent, they push you to go to good colleges. It's not because only because tag, but it's also because if you're there, if you're among good people, you the environment is good and you get to learn a lot of things. Like since other people are also self-driven or self-motivated, so you get to learn from those people as well. This might be good. This you might see this in your own current surrounding as well. So if you're in a school where people are not very self-motivated, or if you're not, they are not much into self-study, and compared to a person who is into in that environment where people are already self-studious and students are there helping each other, so there that creates a positive impact. So I would suggest that you first focus on getting there. So if you are into a good cause, you would always have this opportunity wherever you are. That doesn't matter, you would still have that. So there's a lot of time still available for you. So first focus on your examination that's gonna come. Then you could start with, like, there's enough time for you to learn and do technical things once you're into college. इन्होंने कोई doesn't matter, everything is available for free. काफी सारे freelancer हैं जो अच्छा कमा रहे हैं college drop करने के बाद भी. That's good, but I would never suggest you to drop a college, because the benefit that you have while you're in college, it's not only the degree, but the other non-tangible benefits and folks, which you would only learn once you are in college and you have completed it. You would understand the importance of that. The friend circle that you get, you would get some lifelong friends, and there's a lot of things that college teaches you, which, like, it's not only about the money. Let's come to this. How to get POC for CVs. So if it's publicly available, then that's quite easy. If it's not, what you could do is you could try to recreate it. So, like, let's say if it's an easy one, like if you're into web application security and you find that there's this router web application security bug there which has a CV posted of, let's say, CSRF thing, but there's not any public POC available. So you could get that particular version of the router configuration or the router firmware and try to test it on you locally. Or if there's, suppose, a CV for a particular plugin on WordPress, so you could install WordPress locally and install that particular vulnerable version plugin and check for if the CV mentioned that there was an XSS, so you could check for XSS. So that gives you a very great advantage over compared to other bug bounty hunters, because since this POC is not publicly available, and if you have made it with your own effort, so only you know how to exploit that as compared to anyone else. To get to know all topics of bug bounty, I cannot I cannot talk about it, because it might be that I also not know every topic of bug bounty. But yeah, it's a lifelong learning process. So just read reports, check for good quality research thing that people do, like Orange Sai, then there's the Burp suit guy, I don't remember his name. Albinox, I don't remember the exact name, but these two people I know, they do quite good research. So I definitely check their research. Words live stream. Okay, Bug Hunter 4th BTech CSE. Oh, Mr. Sam Gaming, it's publicly available. I think I've already talked about it. Let me show it here as well. I would add it in the comments too. Application window, setup bug bounty. So this is the script, and you just have to copy this and run on your terminal. So I prefer doing it on VPS. So it automatically installs a lot of tools. You could go and read this. I've also talked about this in one of my videos, earlier videos. You could check that out. So once everything is installed, you just need to run this master script.sh, then whatever domain you have, then basic. So you would like this would be printed on the screen, so you don't need to do anything. You just run this command and you would get that. There could be some like version incompatibility. You might have to manually fix that. I'm trying to fix it by creating a Docker container for the same, so that would help. Like not do it manually again and again. So check the clever programmer, how to get all. Is single droplet enough to automate it? Yeah, I think that's quite enough. Like I usually use $10 droplet. Once I'm with it, I just close it. Yeah, this is a good resource. How to hunt by Kathan. Let me show it here as well. How to hunt Kathan. I've seen this. I think I've seen this. So what Anshu was saying was this. Kathan P19. Yeah, I think this is that. So how to hunt GitHub and GitLab. There's a good link also. So some tutorials and things to do while hunting particular vulnerability. So this is quite a good resource. Yep, you can check for this. I think I should add the link here. How do I approach bugs in codes like Frans Rosen are talking about that we should look for bugs and regex in codes? I read about it now. So yeah, so the good thing that you did was you went and checked for what Frans Rosen was saying. He's also a very good researcher, and he does quite good research. Like researchers, I've read his blog posts, I've seen his videos. So those good. I don't remember about this regex in codes, but usually the thing he talks about, it's like a bit advanced one. So if you're not able to grasp it, it's quite natural. You might get it some. If I have any doubts, can I text on Discord? Yeah, you can text on Discord. We have a channel, you could do there as well. Anshu has again put a quite good thing, art of Googling. Yeah, this is quite important. People, they don't know how to Google properly. So do that. That's the most important skill you would have as any person, even if you're a developer or a bug bounty or whatever. The art of doing proper search is very important. Which cybersecurity books you read? I used to read books quite back. There were a few books. I don't remember the book's name. A lot of books name. Hacking books. So earlier when I didn't have a laptop, I used to read about these. So let me show the screen. So I've read a few books, but not all I have completed. One of few books that I have seen which are quite good. So I have read this one, The Basics of Hacking, Pentesting Guide. So it's the first book that I ever read. And at that time, I didn't have a computer, so I just used to read these. So I was in a hostel, so I didn't have a laptop, so that's why. Hacker Playbook, the first part I have read, but I have not read the whole one. This is a good one. I have not read complete, but it's a very good one. Hands-on introduction. I don't remember this one. This one I have read, Black Hat Python. This is not The Art of Kevin Mitnick. I've read one book. I think I don't remember the name, but I think I've read one of the books of Kevin Mitnick as well. This one I've read to some point when I was quite interested into reverse engineering. Metasploit I have read a lot of detailed book. This book I was gifted by a few of my roommates. It was in class 12th, I think. This book also I know, but I have not read about this. Peter Yavorowski. So I have read his book, Web Hacking 101, I think it was. Web Hacking 101. I think that was this. Yeah, this one. So this was quite a good one. Web Hacking 101 by Peter Yavorowski. Social engineering. This Tangle Web is also a good one. And it's from Michael Zelsky. This is a good one. Backtrack. So Kali was earlier known as Backtrack, and then they switched to Kali. Ghost in the Vice. Okay, this was the book from Kevin Mitnick that I read. Linux Basics for Hackers. I think I have read partially this one as well. So I love reading books, and even now I have a few books here on left of mine. So these are not very technical books that I'm reading, but you could see that there's this Panama Papers, and then there's this Atomic Habits. There's another one, good Economics for Hard Times. So I love to read books, so I read it all the time. So it's not mostly ethical hacking books, but any book in general. So I read a lot of fiction as well. So this is the book. I've read this whole, cover to cover. It's quite good one and very small book as well. So I would definitely recommend anyone to read this also. Burp Suite Advanced Usage. Okay. How to Hunt High. Ghost in Virus. Yeah, it's a good one. I'm Back. Real World Bug Hunting is a good one. Do companies come for placement companies come for placements, but if you are asking about security engineering jobs, so it's quite difficult to get into security engineer as a fresher, and mostly even I also tried it off campus. None of the companies that I know, or in any of the colleges that I know, that they come for security engineering, whether it be IITs or triple ITs. So it's usually inside the industry that they look for security engineers, because security is something that people maybe they don't understand it fully, or they feel that if a person is trusted enough, if they have a good reputation, only then they can be trusted with company security, and they should have a good. So that's why they don't have friends. So fresher, I mean, just passed out college graduate. And you're buying these and telling you to buy these subscription in my college now. Single domain program. It would be the same that I told about, that if you start.example.com, so same goes for single domain. So instead of looking for all domains, you just go through and go through the burp suite throughout that, and just run burp suite in the background and run throughout the application. So for checking all that. So if you have a burp suite pro license, that would be a boon for you, because it would help you get a lot of low-hanging bugs automatically. It would at least point you in some direction. I don't would help you there. So that's that. I think we are done with the questions, probably. Anything else you ask? Otherwise, we could wrap this up. It's almost time as well. Okay. So Anshu says, let's wrap it up. +1. Yeah. It's wait for 9 minutes, since I already told 11 to 1. So I would definitely wait till 1 a.m. I don't know what blogs, but yeah, even I these days I have not been reading books. I have been reading blogs only. So yeah, blogs is it's in a concise format. You get a lot of information. Try to look for blogs where there is detailed information. So you would read 100 blogs, out of which maybe 80 would be good, 20 would just be nothing, not a lot of information would be there. Burp Pro or OWASP ZAP. So Burp Pro is like good. I have not used OWASP ZAP a lot. We have been trying to use OWASP ZAP in our CI/CD pipelines inside our company. So yeah, but I haven't used OWASP ZAP for my own testing. I haven't done OSCP, so I cannot comment on this, Shubhankar. But I think there's already a lot of information about that as well. I'm not sure whether you would want to buy subscription. There's a lot of free resources available as well. A few things that I've seen that try hack me, and a few those are like cheap and they have quite good resources. So I would suggest that if you want, you could look at it. But first, before that, go and check for the free resources that's already available. For there's Swigger Lab, there's DVWA, there's Insecure app for the mobile app pen testing. Best resources API pen testing. I'm not sure. It's the same. I think the same bugs exist on applications as it exists on their API, because in most of the cases you would be interacting with the API itself and not there's no just the application. Synac, I haven't been on Synac. I already talked about this in my previous video as well. Last time they rejected my application, so and from that I have not been doing a lot bug hunting, so I've not ever looked back to submitting an application onto the platform. Reading is definitely recommended than video, because as I said that you're totally focused onto that video, because the person who's making that they might want to concise information, so a few things might get skipped. And moreover, while you read it, you are also googling 10 other things onto that. So if you didn't understand one thing, you would try to Google that, and then you would get some other article, and then from there you might get 10 other things to learn. So that would definitely help you like exponentially grow your learning curve. Exponentially increase your learning speed. Forensics in depth. Forensics, we used to do it while we were doing it in CTFs. There's this Flare VM for, I think it was for, let me check. Flare VM forensics digital. So I'm just checking it while I'm. So let me show how I search it usually. So since I have asked it, I've already talked about that. You could check it this way. So like, see, like you asked what are the resources. So I would just go and search for this, and this is how you also do that. So there's this. This looks like a company, so I might skip this. Study.com. There's this Marshall.edu. This InfoSecInstitute.com is also a good one. Data forensics, EDU. EDU is usually educational universities. There's this Flare VM, which I already know about. So this is the first of its kind reverse engineering and malware analysis distribution on Windows platform. So this company has this virtual machine that you downloaded, and it has all the tools there to like test or check for malware analysis and all that. FireEye is the company. This is quite a known company and quite good one. I would say that you check this out. I had it for while I used to do CTF. I had it on my machine. So a few VMs that I had, one of these was this, the Windows malware analysis redistribution. There's this new installation. Yeah, I remember that there was a new installation. So for forensics and malware analysis and all those stuff, you could do that. Otherwise, this awesome CTF. So there you would find forensic resources. So there's a lot of awesome kind of like awesome something. So there are these repositories on GitHub. So yeah, awesome CTF. If you go to forensics, there you could find a lot of tools for this. Then for networking, these tools are there. Then you can so this is how you do while you're reading. So you read that there's this aircrack and the Audacity and all these stuff. Then you might want to look at this. What is this application? Whereas if we were watching a video, you would just know, okay, this is the tool, and then you would be like done with that. So I would suggest that you prefer reading over watching content, which is quite contradictory to what I do. Like I make videos, so it's quite contradictory. But I would definitely suggest that you read. That's where you would learn a lot more. Should I search for online content for web app hackers? Yeah, you should do both. I would definitely recommend do both. And also read that Peter Yavorski's book, Web Hacking 101. That's a very good book. Okay, on that. Yeah. ML can be used for decryption. No, I don't think so. Like, why, how? ML is for simulating like machine learning and not that. I'm installing a Windows to install for trying to do it in SDA, saving Windows load and stuff or what to do. So it's not very clear. Trying to do. So what are you stuck? What's the error message? So like that's what I say, that you should have proper knowledge as to how to ask questions. So it's not only for this. A lot of people I've seen they have a few things in their mind and they ask few things others. So unless you give me the context, I might not be able to help, or even not me, anyone else won't be able to help. So try to ask questions which have more context and try to like learn how to ask better questions, I would say. Oh, that's quite like thanks a lot for this. That's a lot. Like Liveflow is like he has been very good. Like I've seen his videos and he's quite a knowledgeable person. And that's quite a respect that you have given comparing him to me to him. Sorry. Video stop. Video stuck on me. Yeah, sorry. Video was stuck. There was some net issue. And networking knowledge is not required. So while I was in my first year in college, so I joined the networking club. So I had a very basic knowledge by reading these books, so pen testing books and Metasploit books. So there I learned about networking. So I have a knowledge of that as well, but I don't think that's required in the country. Neither CTF knowledge is not very required, but having CTF knowledge, you learn on a lot of new things. So yeah, I think that's it. Let's wait 1 minute. It would be 1 AM and we might stop this. Cool then, I think. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, make sure to subscribe. I've set subscribers maybe by this year. Let's see how it goes. I'm trying to make a series on mobile app and testing, and then also on security engineer perspective. Like we use Vault and Terraform and other stuff. So a lot of security engineers, they are struggling with that. So DNS as code that we have already implemented Grofers. So I'll be making out the videos about that as well. So there's about how to securely deploy a startup on VPSs and other websites as well. So I'll be talking about those as well in coming videos. Where is networking required? So networking is required if you're doing a pen testing. So pen testing means live pen testing of the network and other stuff. So there, that knowledge would be required. Thanks for the real help. Thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed the session. And if you like the channel, make sure you share these videos so that other people could get benefited. And I also reached the mark of like 20K maybe this year. Thanks. Non-technical books for reading. What kind of books you want? Like, do you know about this? The Panama Papers. So it's about the Panama Paper leak and other fiction books I read. So this is another good one, Atomic Habits. So I've read it, quite short one, but I haven't read it in detail. But there's a lot of fun. So earlier I used to read a lot of fiction books. These days it's a bit fiction and non-fiction. So fiction is kind of filler in between non-fiction books. So while I'm reading these 3 books, so I might pick a fiction book in between and then read that. Yep. I think Deep Patel, I've answered that question. yeah, make reading a habit. That would help you, because reading is ever beneficial. So that's all. Thanks for being with me for the whole throughout. It's been quite a time, like around 2 hours already. Yep. Mr. Sam says he started following me from last CTFs of Anish and Pratik Dhabi. Okay, thanks, man. Okay, thanks a lot, guys. Let me post it here. Cool then. Bye.